Hi everybody, I'm Zilla Blitz and welcome to a long overdue channel update on our tabletop and PC wargaming and strategy gaming channel. This has been 4 months since we've done one of these, and if you're not familiar with these, this is kind of where we just talk a little bit about some of the going-ons behind the scenes of the channel. We take a look at the channel numbers, then I kind of talk a little bit about some of the goals for the upcoming month, and then also just kind of some random ruminations about things going on. A bunch of things to talk about, I think, in this update. Let's start right in, however, with some of the channel numbers, which I think connects to one of the things I want to talk about going forward. If we take a look at the channel numbers, they can best be summed up as good news and bad news. The bad news is, on the whole, the channel views and the metrics were down over the previous month. The good news is what I think is kind of the foundational element to where the channel is right now. But let's take a look first at the drop in numbers. 66,000 views for the month of September, 76,000 views for the month of August. Hours watched were down as well, 7,000 in September as opposed to 8,400 in the month of August. And then subscriptions gained about 346 subscribers in August, but only 304 in September. So all along, there's like a 10% drop, a little bit more than a 10% drop in numbers. Now, videos produced was 8 in each of those 2 months. So in August, I made 8, and last month in September, I made 8 videos for the channel. And that, I think, highlights really the essence of what's going on and kind of relates to the first thing that I want to talk about. Before we jump into that discussion, I want to pause and say a word of thank you, as always on the channel update, to the Patreon supporters of the channel. Your support has been a huge help over the course of this year as I've kind of added lights and rebuilt the studio and added subscriptions to things like Artlist for sound effects and going to get StreamYard now. So there's just like there's actually a lot behind the scenes, and the support from Patreon supporters is incredibly helpful. So thank you, as always. In particular, thank you to the 3 new Patreon supporters, Jim Calciano, Chet Bell, and Maciej Tochoki, which I may have mispronounced your name. I'm sorry if I got it wrong. But thank you, as always. Information, if you would like to help out the channel, there's information on the Patreon link down below, as well as the super sub thing that YouTube has too. So support is always greatly appreciated. The goal for this year is to break even. I don't think we'll make it, but it's getting closer. So maybe next year for that goal. So I want to spend a little time in talking about the production numbers, because one of the hallmarks, I think, of the channel, and one of the things that I really enjoy about this, is kind of this, the feeling of producing a video pretty consistently. And over the span of the past months between May and September, production of videos on the channel has been down compared to what it was in the year and a half before that. So the last 6 months have been less than the first year and a half of making wargaming videos and stuff like that. There are a lot of life reasons for that. Work was massively busy in May and June, and I've switched to a completely new role here in the month of September, which took up time. So there's some things that just happened that you just kind of, you kind of roll with in life. But there's also been, I think, a bigger thing that's probably more of the reason, and that's just kind of a falling out of the habit. I think it's really easy for us to pick up habits we don't like. A few of the things that I've noticed in myself, like what I'm really good at is, like, as soon as I'm finished with dinner, I'll come in and I'll start working right on a video. And over the course of like the past 5 or 6 months, instead of doing that, after dinner, I'll sit and I'll start to watch TV or something like that, or I'll putz around, or I'll check the internet rather than starting in and doing a video. And all of a sudden, it's like that 2 hours I had to work on a video is down to like a half an hour. And then I'm like, well, okay, I'll do that thing tomorrow. So I've picked up some, what I consider to be unsatisfying habits over the past 5 to 6 months. And so that's what I'm trying. Some of you may know if you follow on the Patreon, because that's where I posted it and kind of been tracking it a little bit. A goal is that we just recently hit 100 days left on September 23rd in the year 2023. So my goal is 100 videos produced and published over the last 100 days in 2023. Now, this is a completely bonkers goal, which, believe it or not, I actually came close to achieving about 3 years ago when I was creating a lot of sports football manager content and stuff like that. But I want to see if I can do it. Now, this is day 11, and this is the 11th video produced. So far, I'm on track with it. It's going well. And I will say, a lot of people post when I say things like that, they're like, take care of your health, mental health is really important, and I totally get that, and I will do that. I'm not going to push it into insanity because this is a hobby, right? And I want to have fun with it. However, having said that, I've been really happy the last 11 days because I realize I don't have time to do those things that I ultimately find unsatisfactory. I've been going like, wait a second, I don't have time to sit down here and just veg out and watch TV or just check the internet. I need to shift right into video creation mode. And I'm much happier having done that than having kind of just frittered away the time doing something where I'm not really creating something. So I'm happy right now. I'm liking it. 11 days in, 11 videos produced. We'll see how this goes. We're going to keep it up here. So, and roughly that just kind of for connections, if you're not, there are two channels, right? There's this PC Wargaming, Tabletop Wargaming strategy channel here, this one here. And then there is the PC Simulations channel where I put a lot of the trucking content. So if you are here, having watched a lot of trucking content, you're like, where's all the new trucking videos? They're over on the Zilla Blitz Second Gear channel. I'll put a link to that down below. That channel, by the way, just hit 1,000 subscribers. So celebration kind of blast for that there. And the goal roughly won't be 100 videos on this channel. It'll be roughly split. I think my ideal ratio is going to be 4 videos for this channel and 3 videos for that channel. I think that's kind of where I'd like to fall in the next few months. But it could very well be like 50-50 over the rest of the year for this kind of ambitious goal of 100 videos in 100 days. So that's goal number 1, is to keep that up over the course of the next month. So far, so good. Your encouragement is greatly appreciated. And yes, I will take care of my mental health, because I know when I mentioned things like this before, people have been concerned that it's too much to be. But I kind of thrive on these types of goals. So I kind of feel like I know what I'm doing. I don't know if we'll get there or not. And if something really life-wise happens, then obviously I'm not going to make it. But thing number 2 is a continuation of the conversation in the last channel update, which was July. And if you're not familiar, I won't recap that too much, but basically, if I were to say the saga of 2023, it was completely accepting way too many review copies of games to create content for. And I mentioned before in that previous video, those review copies can take anywhere from 20 to sometimes 60 hours to create content for. And I accepted just a boatload of stuff. I was really honored to be asked to do that. And I just said yes to pretty much everything. And then I got to January, February, and I said, oh my God, there's no way I can do all of this stuff. And so pretty much for the last 6 months, and I apologize to any publisher who I've said I just can't do it, I've pretty much been saying no, except to existing commitments, with the idea of completing the review projects that I committed to doing earlier in the year. The good news is there are 14 left, and I think I can do about 7 each month, which means it gets down to the end of November, shifting into that vision that I mentioned in the last channel update, which is having about 1/3 review copies, 1/3 kind of playthrough fun projects and things like that, and maybe 1/3 kind of other things like designer interviews and stuff like that, to strike kind of a more creative and different balance for the channel that I ultimately think will be better for the channel going forward for everybody concerned. So the good news is that's the second goal, is to kind of chip away more at those review projects. It's getting close. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And again, not that these aren't fun by any means, but I really felt like the channel was getting very one-dimensional. It was very limiting in terms of what I can do. And I want the channel to be broader and more engaging than that. So I want to continue doing review copies, but not to the same degree. So that's goal number 2, is to keep working forward with that. The exciting part about that, which is I want to talk a little bit about project number 3, because these are the types of things that I want to start to be able to do once that backlog is cleared. December, got an idea for our first kind of big video project, which will be, it's going to be called, I think, Bulge Off 23. And it's going to be an overlook and an overview and an examination of all the best tabletop Battle of the Bulge games. And I kind of need your help with this. So there's a link down below to a spreadsheet where I've got what I would have been recommended on kind of Twitter and Blue Sky and stuff like that as being some games to look at. So I've got a pretty big list right now of games. And the rough idea, I don't know quite going to be the format for it, but it's going to happen over the course of the month of December. There's going to be a kind of March Madness style single elimination tournament where we're going to pit one game against it. It'll be a voting thing to kind of see which goes, and whittle down a field of about 16 to 20 games, 20 games down to a field of, final competition, 1 versus 1. And in there, there'll be videos talking about them, probably some playthroughs, maybe of the winner and the runner up and stuff like that. So a big kind of event centering around examining all the Battle of Bulge games, some of the best and most iconic Battle of the Bulge games that are out there right now. And I've got about, I think about 12 games picked for the list already, and I've been trying to see where I can get them. Some of them are out of print, so they're hard. So older games, newer games, good games, all kinds of stuff like that. I would love your help. Take a look at that list or suggest games that you like that are kind of your either iconic or favorite or best kind of Battle of the Bulge games. So that's coming up. Oh, right. One last thing I want to talk about that I always talk about is what's going on and what's like immediately coming up next. I forgot that. That's probably the thing that most people are kind of probably mainly interested in. So what's going on? We did a playthrough an AAR style of Traces of War, which I think is a really promising format. I want to do some tweaks to it and some modifications to it. I'm thinking about how to change it a little bit, but I'm really happy with the first product, which is taking a longer game, say like a 5 or 6 hour game and condensing it down into a 30-minute video. Because generally my playthroughs, if a gameplay is like 30 minutes, it takes about an hour of video to do that, which means it's really limiting as to the range of games that we can cover on the channel. But an AAR format is the opposite. Really, it allows you to condense a ton of action into a relatively short time span. I'm even thinking this could be the route forward with something like, yes, World of Flames. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. But that Traces of War AAR format I really, really liked. I used a semi-similar format with Antietam from Pub Battles, which I just created a 2-video series for. And then still kind of making our way through Stalingrad on the PC gaming side, the SGS Battle for Stalingrad series. I think there's 8 episodes up as now I'm making this. It is a back and forth battle. It is really, really been a lot of fun. So those are the 3 kind of things I've been thinking about that I've covered lately. Coming up immediately on the channel will be a first look at Blade and Bow, reading the rules right now for that. That should be up later this week. And then the next 2 games coming up are look at the prototype of Sicily 43 as that game inches towards its crowdfunding coming up in the middle of the month. And then at long last, I've had this game for so long, A Most Fearful Sacrifice. So we're going to take a look at that, which got one of the awards as Best Wargamer of the Year last year recently. So those are the immediate things coming up on the Tabletop Wargaming channel. And on the PC side is Unity of Command 2 has a new Kursk DLC out. So tank battles, Eastern Front. You can play both sides, Russians and Germans. As soon as Stalingrad is done, maybe even a little before that, I'm going to be shifting into doing a couple of videos on that. So that's what's gone on and what's coming up. And with that, I think that's everything I wanted to mention. As always, your input is and support is greatly, greatly appreciated. I mentioned this, I think, probably on almost every one of these, but it's the community and the connections, I think, that have been kind of arisen through all this, and the kindness that people have been, the kindness of channel comments and all those kinds. I mean, you get some comments, right? We all know that, but you just have to kind of shake those off. But the overall kindness, the support, and just the energy that people have brought to kind of encourage me along on the way and to make this more of a community thing rather than just, me sitting alone in front of a camera making videos. That's been the thing that surprised me the most. Has been the best part of this. Had that not been part of this, I know I would have given this up so long ago. So thank you always, as ever, for the likes, for the subscriptions, for the Patreon support, for the comments, for whatever good wishes and all that kind of stuff. It's greatly appreciated. See you again in about a month. I'm going to try to do these a little bit more regularly, and we'll see you in a video soon. And again, Battle of the Bulge feedback on that list. I'd love to hear what you think. Take care. Bye.